the thing that I wanted to emphasize and the thing that I wanted to say, we had to switch over into another connection midstream. But these are our first responders, and these are the people that's on the front line in order to make sure that we're taken care of on a regular basis. And so I always like to stand for, and I always like to make sure that I acknowledge when I see a police officer, and I know that there's always bad apples in everything. But I always want to make sure that I acknowledge and I recognize that police officers are the frontline soldiers for us. We may not necessarily see the people that's overseas. We don't see the National Guard. We don't see the Army. We don't see the Air Force. But we do see the very ones that's at the front line, and they're the ones that respond to anything that's happening inside of our neighborhoods. And so I want to acknowledge them. So thank you to all of the police officers that continue to do the dirty work in our lives and take care of business. But I also want to make sure that I bring this to light. Police officer in Minneapolis, 1 injured, 1 killed. Check it out.
Breaking news tonight, tragedy in Minneapolis, a shooting investigation unfolding in South Minneapolis. And Fox 9 has now confirmed 2 Minneapolis police officers were injured in this shooting. 1 has since died. MPD confirming that 2 civilians and the suspected shooter are also now dead. Thank you for joining us on Fox 9 and Fox Local. I'm Kelsey Carlson.
And I'm Randy Meyer. We do not know yet the full scope of this tragedy. Authorities say the public is not.
I know that I was frozen for a minute. I had stopped talking until I had got it back together, but we back now.
In danger, though. But it's still a very active scene tonight near 22nd and Blaisdell Avenue South. We are expecting to hear from Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry and Minneapolis Police in just about an hour or so. We will take that news conference live as it unfolds.
We do have team coverage of this situation this evening. Courtney Godfrey is outside HCMC, but we begin with Rob Olson, who is live at the scene. Rob?
Yeah, still very much a scene here now at 9 o'clock. This happening around 5:20 or so. So very much still going on here, although you can tell this is continuing through the last hour or so, 90 minutes to sort of de-escalate in its tension and intensity level out here as officers leave. But still a big perimeter, a couple of drones, police drones up in the air. Let's show you the video, though, what it looked like when we first got here, which was about 5:45 or so, and this was massive police response here. We're at the corner of Franklin and LaSalle, right where LaSalle becomes Blaisdell Avenue South. And again, you can see the number of police officers, squad cars that were here. We saw, obviously, not just Minneapolis police, but the sheriff's office. We saw FBI here, ATF. We saw officers from other agencies. Nearby here where I'm standing, I counted about a dozen ambulances sitting staged on standby. So it was still very much an active scene. A lot of unknowns about if there was still potentially a suspect or a shooter on the loose out here. There was a search here of the apartment building near where this happened here on Blaisdell to make sure that there was nobody still in there. I talked to just a little bit ago a man named Corey Jones, who was.
This is a black man. For all of y'all blackity blacks, for all of y'all race hustlers, I want to see Black Lives Matters. I want to see Umar Johnson. I want to see Roland Martin. I want to see all of the people that advocate for black people and advocate for black lives and stand for black lives, also stand for the police officers that served the community that was on their way in order to try to help or save somebody else and was ambushed as a result of it. I want to see the same. Does all life matter? Does all black lives matter? Does black police officers matter? Because I don't believe in identity politics, but I'm just wondering, does all lives matter, or is it only one way?
Walking here was at this corner of Franklin and Blaisdell when he heard the first shots. He then started recording and hid behind a tree as more gunshots rang out, and here's what he told me he saw.
As soon as I got right here, I just heard a gunshot right here on Blaisdell and Franklin, and so I got behind the tree. They had the fire truck over there. All the cops got behind there, and then a couple seconds later, they started shooting. I had seen the cop that was laying out in the street, and then I kept recording.
Yeah, so in his video too, you hear a number of gunshots being fired. There's a fire truck down here parked on the street on Blaisdell behind me. That was in his video too during the second volley of shots, and you see officers taking cover behind that fire truck. That would tell you why that truck is still sitting in the street. It was here as part of the initial response to whatever the incident was that began, and we've had various stories here, nothing official about how this began, but the gunshots were exchanged here. So that truck, that fire truck, is now part of evidence, part of the shooting scene, crime scene, so it has to stay where it is. So again, things are certainly changing out here. Police officers, the squads continue to leave, and it thins out here, but still a very big perimeter several blocks around this area. Still a lot of officers. You see more going down here as well. I know that they've been trying to account for everybody who lives in these apartment buildings here. There were some employees of this clinic here on the corner that were sheltered in place for a time as well before they could be evacuated. But again, so things are calming down a little bit here, but this will go on for a while. Still very active out here.
Let me go over and give y'all the most recent update of this whole situation so y'all can fully understand exactly what's happening over in Minneapolis.
This morning, Minnesota's law enforcement community is reeling from another tragedy.
One Minneapolis police officer is dead, another injured after being shot in the line of duty. We do have team coverage for you this morning. Our Bill Keller, Saquon, both covering the story for us this morning.
And Saquon,
I still got the link pinned to the top of the chat for anybody that disagree with me on any part of the show. You're more than welcome to be able to call in and express your thoughts.
has details about the officer killed, but first we want to start with Bill Keller to tell us exactly what happened here. Bill, good morning.
Good morning, Tom and Kelly. Well, there are still a lot of unanswered questions this morning as the BCA leads what they are calling a complex investigation with two separate crime scenes. Here's what we do know. This all started just after 5 p.m. yesterday evening. That's when Minneapolis police officers were called to an apartment on Blaisdell Avenue South. They were being sent there for a report of a shooting. But while en route, an officer stopped to help what appeared to be possible victims. And that's when the police officer, that's when they say that Officer Jamal Mitchell was shot in what authorities describe as an ambush.
So this is basically what happened. This is what they're saying that happened. Officers was basically called to an apartment building, and it was alleged shots was fired at the apartment building. En route to that apartment building, he just so happened to be, him and his partner, one of the random police officers that seen something else en route to it. And when they stopped in order to go and help, not hurt, not arrest, they went to go and help somebody else en route to it. And so they pulled over and they seen somebody under duress or distressed. That's when they got ambushed. And then this police officer that you see right here, his life was taken, and we don't know who his family is. We don't know who his children are. We don't know if he was a minister. We don't know what he stood for. All we know is that he just so happened to be at the wrong place in the wrong time, and he's no longer here with us. And whatever it was that he woke up thinking this morning, or that morning, was no longer a thing that night. And that's why I tell y'all to be very thankful, be appreciative of the people that surround y'all, and live every day like it's your last, because you don't know. Your last could be tomorrow.
The 36-year-old later dying at the hospital. Now, there was a second officer that exchanged gunfire with that suspect. The suspect later died at the scene. The officer was also shot but expected to recover. A person in the apartment building was shot and killed, and 3 others also wounded, including a Minneapolis firefighter. Police Chief Brian O'Hara speaking about the difficult loss overnight.
This is the worst call a police chief can get, is that one of your own has given their life in the line of duty.
Yeah, that's true.
It's beyond comprehension. Today is a sad day for the Minneapolis Police Department and for the city of Minneapolis. And I ask that you remember the dangers that our police officers are willing to face day and night, and the price they might ultimately have to pay.
Well, Governor Tim Walz has ordered that flags fly at half-staff today in Mitchell's honor. The governor spoke last night about the tragic loss and this epidemic of gun violence.
These press conferences cannot be the norm. The funerals we attend and the folks who were willing to serve at a time. This is a really hard job. It's a really hard job, and it's really hard with lots of guns on the street.
Nobody is
and
in
it's
the back.
really hard if those folks can't feel us unified behind them to make sure that we're providing every single thing we can to make sure that they get what they need to do their job, to protect all of us, but to protect themselves. Their families deserve to know they're coming home.
Yeah, this is the first Minneapolis police officer to be shot and killed in the line of duty since 2002. In the meantime, police officers from across the area, they'll be helping Minneapolis with law enforcement duties while the department copes with this loss. The BCA, by the way, expected to release some additional details about the shooting, but we'll have to wait for the coming days.
You want to see him again? Messi? I got you. There you go. What was it? Police chief? This is what Messi want to see. That's what you're rolling with, Messi? You know Umar Johnson going to be on you as a result of that, right? You know that the Blackity Blacks is going to be kicking your butt because of that. They don't want to see that. They don't want to see that, Messi. Nope, they don't want to see that. But anyways, let me go ahead and just say rest in peace to the family. I absolutely do not agree with police violence. We got to be very, very careful in making sure that we honoring our loved ones as they go out and do some of the jobs that they do, because ultimately it could be your last day on the job. Let me read some of this.